Good morning. It's Market Day Report. We're so glad you're with us as we start another trading day. Now, we'll open up the markets for day trading in about 11 minutes. Until then, how about we look at how markets settled in the overnight session? December 423, talking December corn, unchanged. This is a market comes into today. It's been higher 6 out of the last 7 sessions. So we'll keep an eye on the corn market. It just kind of claws its way higher. Been watching the same thing here with the beans, 1037 3/4 overnight. Up 3, it's been higher 5 out of the last 6. Let's go to wheat now, and Chicago old crop December unchanged. 503 3/4. Now, hard red December is old crop 490 1/4. It's a penny 3/4 higher. Spring wheat is higher across the board, and the cotton market higher at 63.93. That's up 19. President of Midwest Market Solutions is Brian Hoops. Brian, we were talking before we came on here. Are you ready for what could be another interesting day? It's funny how I can't remember who it was. Maybe it was Eric Osterhaus that said it, but Scott Shelley's picked up on it. It's trading technicals, fundamentals, and now tweets as well.
Yes, it is. We are trading a lot of headline risk, and really that's one of the big drivers in a lot of these markets recently is what's going on as far as sanctions against other countries, such as this morning, President Trump leveling sanctions against Russia's 2 biggest oil producers. And look at price of crude oil this morning. Last I checked, it was up nearly 5% and about 11% in just 2 days as tensions are increasing there. So you have all kinds of headline risk from around the world that's going to move these markets one way or the other. We've seen that in the grains recently with President Trump talking about meeting with President Xi, then calling off those meetings and the reactions that the grain markets have had. And when we're just left to kind of trade off of the other news, the fundamentals, the technicals, we seem to be trying to move higher here in the grain markets in the last several sessions. You mentioned 5 out of the last 6 sessions we've been higher for corn and beans. That's all true. The basis levels are narrowing, trying to pry some grain from farmers' hands. I think the elevators and end users in general overestimated the amount of crop that was going to be sold, and they didn't get as much as what they had anticipated, and that's why basis is starting to narrow. Now, I've talked with some clients here recently who are seeing wide basis levels, and as those basis narrows and as the futures market rallies, they've made comments that if we get close to that $10 mark on cash beans, there are going to be a lot of sales being made. So there will be a price in here where the product ends up getting moved. It's a smart decision from the standpoint. South America looks to be growing a bigger crop this year than last year. Rains are falling in South America. Conditions look nearly ideal. I think your bean crop here in the U.S. is probably a little bit larger than what the USDA has been anticipating based off of what customers have saying. So you've got a lot of supply, and it's tough to find a home for all of it or find uses for all of it. We're attempting to trying to make some agreement with China so that they would end up buying U.S. soybeans, but that remains to be seen if they'll even have a meeting, let alone reach an agreement.
Well, we talk about supply, we talk about demand, and I can't think of a better model for that right now than the cattle market. So how about we take a break? We'll come back, pick up the conversation with Brian Hoops, Midwest Market Solutions. This is Market Day Report. Let's talk livestock futures. We'll start with live cattle. Sometimes we'll call it fat cattle. So if you ever hear fat, that's live cattle we're talking about, okay? So the December contract at $239.97 off $5.45 yesterday. February down $5.75 at $240.52. And here's where it got interesting. Feeders going locked, limit lower yesterday. November, well, everything except for that October contract, which expires, next week? November at $364.22, down $9.25. So with that comes extended limits, and Brian Hoops will tell us more about that in a moment. Hog market lower as well, 82.37. Front month December down 90. All right, Brian, let's bring you back into the conversation here. Lock limit yesterday, which means we have expanded limits today. What are your thoughts here?
So yeah, we do have expanded limits. We are not going to test them. In fact, we're probably going to open higher this morning. So we traded lower, limit down, as you mentioned, in feeders. 2 out of the last 4 trading sessions, we've been limit down, but I don't think today's going to be one of them. As I said, I think you're probably going to see maybe higher prices in here. We mentioned the first segment about some tweets out of the White House can really affect these markets. And of course, beef prices are high and that's affecting the consumer demand, but markets usually take care of themselves. We'll ration the supply, we'll lower demand, and things will get back to maybe more of a normal level. We don't need assistance in doing that. And the White House is offering assistance. And that's not something that the cattle ranchers want or our hardworking farmers want at this point in time. It really spooked the markets. They don't like this uncertainty. And when we make statements out there that we're going to do things to make a deal to increase supplies, it really scares the markets and they head for the sidelines, especially when these participants are all on the long side. We're talking about big fund managers, big traders here. With that being said, what has been announced from the White House is not much of a game changer whatsoever. They are backing off of their plans a little bit, it sounds like, to increase supplies into the U.S. by importing cattle out of Argentina. They originally talked about quadrupling it, which sounds terrible on the surface, but they bought 20,000 metric tons last year from Argentina. So you're talking about 80,000 metric tons, an increase of 60 into the U.S. at a time when supplies are tight. That's not a game changer whatsoever. Brooke Rollins also talked about this morning increasing acreage available for farmers to lease from the government up to 5 million. Well, that's great. We can expand herd by doing that. We just don't have the inventory to expand herd. We don't have the incentive to expand the herd right now. And even if we did, that takes years to do that. So this is something that's real long term as far as planning to bring these prices down. They will come down eventually, but we don't need government help in doing that. And they're really not offering anything that's going to give us lower prices. So these tweets is what's scaring the market and having these corrections. We did see a little bit of cash at 239 to 240, pretty much steady on the week compared to last week, yesterday. And I imagine we'll start to see more cash trade into Friday, but we're going to see a pretty wide swing in the markets, I think, today.
Yeah, and just a gentle reminder here, we've been importing beef for years now, and the majority of what we do import is for the lean trim there to blend in for ground and for hamburger. Is that correct?
That's a good point. Yeah, we have imported quite a bit of Brazilian beef recently, and now we have the cool or country of origin labeling concerns. If we start importing more beef, that's another concern that's going to be brought up, that country of origin labeling. Yeah, so the White House didn't do anything to give us this bull market. They really don't need to do anything to end it. Let's just let the markets play out, and eventually prices will come down. We'll expand the herd eventually, but let the market work on its own.
Yeah, you mentioned country of origin labeling. I'm glad you brought that up. One more final thought on that. We tried that, in 2002, I think, and that's when the Canadians and Mexico went to the WTO, won a case, and it cost us pretty big. That's why we had to unwind that. Right. But right now we've got a WTO that can't really do anything. There's no teeth there. So this could be an interesting point. I'm glad you brought that up. Brian Hoops is president of Midwest Market Solutions. There's a lot in that 13-page document from USDA